related.
Oh, most related, like in other words, like, we understand each other. I feel really connected to this group, to this person, to this organization, to this, like, you know, when you're having that conversation, you grew up in Minnesota, I grew up in Minnesota. You know, I mean, that's a ridiculous version of it, but when you feel like, oh, yeah, So I feel most, like, I belong here, you know? Where do you feel like you belong when you're in a group? When you're, you know, when you're out on the, do you feel like you belong when you're at the bar? Do you feel like you belong when you're at a, you know, Rotary meeting? Where do you feel like you belong? And that is also a real indication of Venus.
And an astrological seminar.
An astrology seminar. Yeah, you know, I mean, the astrology seminar would be a lot of air Venus, you know, Gemini and Aquarius.
What would the bar be?
What?
What would the bar be?
The bar,
Scorpio.
Pisces.
Pisces, yeah.
Yeah. Pisces, because of Pisces, go talk to any bartender, most likely their moon is in Pisces, or, you know, it's like where things flow. Go to a bar, and I bet you're going to find, like, you know, the regulars there all have strong Pisces somewhere, because it's about escape, boundarylessness. Oh, if, you know, and that's why a lot of, like Venus and Pisces, you know, the artists that feel like they need to drink in order to create their art, you know, often that's like, oh, if I can just eliminate these boundaries, and then it flows, you know. But it's so interesting that you can go from the most quirky, like, as I always say, mundane manifestation of a particular placement, like I could say Venus and Leo jewelry, you know, or are you shining forth, you know? And you can really find the places where it shows up in your life in hilarious ways, you know? And you can go, okay, that's me too, but this is the direction in which I can head. Any other questions? Thoughts? Concerns? Fears? New inspirations? Was that a fear?
Well,
did you have something to say, Maria?
No, I thought you said, does anyone have fear?
Yes, yes. That's good. That's a good Venus and Cancer admitting.
I have Venus and Gemini in the 4th house trine Saturn.
Yeah.
And my understanding of that is that, you know, the 4th house is about the home.
Yeah.
Trine Saturn means good boundaries, settled on what I like, what should be where, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But she doesn't see it. So I sense it. I mean, it's funny because it's like I was listening to all of them go, you've got him in that house? I don't see it. I'm just, my instinct is going, oh, totally.
Yeah, interesting.
Totally. I mean, there's a part in the back of me, I'm just going, oh, absolutely 12th house. You know, and I mean, and Maria said her house, and I'm like, absolutely, and
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about, but
yeah.
I'm just curious if you could talk about it for a sec.
I wonder if, you know, I'm just sort of formulating a theory, which is that I wonder if the aspects are more of an internal awareness. So you know that Saturn is trine your Venus. Like, you know that at the core there's some incredible endurance and rootedness and discipline and strength.
Yeah,
Do you know?
absolutely.
Like, you feel that. And maybe, because Venus and Gemini, like before it, as it matures, it starts out and it can be really like that scattered love. And so that's going to be what's most obvious, do you know, in some ways. That's going to be what's most like apparent, that, oh, a little bit, but underneath is this Saturn, you know, this connection. And it probably will become more and more apparent as it, you know, it will just become more apparent throughout your life. I mean, Saturn comes in with age and maturity, and, you know, as we get into our 30s, it starts to be like, okay, more and more. But it is a beautiful trine, and it's a grounded trine, and it helps the Venus and Gemini not be so, you know, all over the place. And it helps it say, I've tasted that, I've tried that, and now I've chosen this. And it's about commitment to what you've chosen.
Yeah, that'll work.
So, you know, sometimes I think it's absolutely true that with our partners, sometimes we're like, you know, you don't see it, or it's like, that's not how I experience you, and or they, you know, but then you just get to turn up the notch a little bit or something, and you get to sort of like, well, this is how I see it in myself, and you know, these are the areas where I really feel that, and help me grow that. You know, and that's a beautiful thing about partners working on something together, is like, help me grow this, you know? Help me find the Saturn commitment to this creative project. Help me, you know, or not, but you know, be a mirror for, do I have my boundaries, my discipline, my power up with this or not? Be a mirror, you know. And that's why it's interesting to know those kind of things about your partner's chart. Yeah.
I just have a question. Venus and Aries, you said, have Athena-like women?
Yeah.
What?
Like me. No, no, I always say Andrew's got Venus and Aries, and I'm like, and I'm your Aries woman. No, the Athena-like women, it's like Athena sprung from Zeus's head, fully armed, and she was the daughter like her father, ready to go. And so, it's very mentally brilliant oftentimes, you know, very like lots of ideas, and it's a woman that has the martial energy.
Okay.
And as I'm saying that, I'm like, no. But you know what I mean? It's like that. It's feisty like that.
Okay.
So your feminine energy would have a little bit of Mars juice to it. Yeah. Kim?
I just have so much going on. I don't know where to start.
Choose one thing.
Well, Venus is in Gemini, so that's very difficult.
Yeah. See, there's so much going on. I don't know where to start. Venus and Gemini. Yeah.
So I'm opposing Jupiter and loosely conjuncting Saturn and squaring Pluto. I don't know. I seriously am having a Gemini woman in the 12th house.
Right. And I mean, that's a lot going on. And I mean, I'll just say that Venus opposing Jupiter and loosely conjuncting Saturn. Let's just address that part, okay? Venus opposing Jupiter. It could be a little bit of the procrastination, a little bit of the, oh, but this feels good and I don't want to move from this spot, right? But the fact that it's loosely conjunct Saturn is your help. Because Saturn, sitting next to Venus, says, now is the time to be disciplined. Now that I've found my comfort, you know, now that I bought my white puffy chair, here is where I sit to write. Here is where I sit to create. And this is the beauty of each person's chart, is that like, yeah, if she just had Venus opposite Jupiter, too much of a good thing. But she's got that Saturn going, hello, you know, and yeah, and in a way, as the planets get further out, I guess I would say that as the planets get further out, the intensity of each one increases. So in a way, Saturn gets to sort of have a little bit more juice over Jupiter, you know, and then Neptune gets to have a little bit more juice over Saturn. I mean, I have to think about that a little bit more, but Saturn can come in and sort of correct the ways of Jupiter, you know, when it's too much. But then what was the last one? Sextile.
Squaring Pluto.
Squaring Pluto. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We know that. Yeah. I mean, there is great. There can be great loss, and there can be great letting go in order for that creativity to climb on board the discipline train. Yeah. But we'll talk more about that too. I mean, you know what, I've given you, you know, each of you has, I mean, to essentialize each of the things is difficult, but I give it to you for you to wrestle with and to come up with questions down the road for me, you know. Was there one more question? Let's do one more question. Did you want it, Maria, or did you?
No way.
She just has fear.
Well, and yeah, I mean, and that is the journey. It's a good example of the Cancer energy, because Cancer is the crab, and Cancer actually would much rather sort of be quietly hidden, right? And
Look, you're sitting next to
Venus and Aquarius. This is a brilliant thing. These are Aquarius and Cancer, nothing alike, but you have Mars in Aquarius, right? Right. So it's interesting when you start to. After these sessions, start to be like, oh, you know, like talk to somebody that's a little bit different than you know, and figure out what you need from that person, you know, and yeah, oh, Lynn's like groupie, and you're like, okay, I'm not coming to a group ever again, or whatever, you know, whatever it is, you know, but I know I'll extract value if I make it more my home, or, you know. All right, my dear friends, thank you so much for being here. I encourage you to come and move Venus in your bodies next week. And I also encourage you to, ask me any questions that you have, either by email or,
Do you know if you'll be doing the wave next week?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
What? A wave?
We did some movement last time that was really great and freeing, and it's called The Wave.
Can we do it now?
Woo! I'll put on some music as we are departing.
It's not that way.
Oh.
It's
Follow
500
your
cross.
love,
That's a
follow
cross.
your bliss, invoke Venus. I'll leave you with this fabulous thing, which is that I'll leave you with two fabulous things. There's something about Carolyn Casey says that Friday the 13th has turned into Friday the 13th because originally Venus is Friday, the Friday day, and it's also rules the number 13. And on that day, and I can't remember how many thousands of years ago this was, you were supposed to stay home and make love all day on Friday the 13th. But the authorities were like, whatever authority was, were like, no, we do not do that. And so they made Friday the 13th an evil day, but you're really supposed to just stay at home and have fabulous love and pleasure and joy.
Wow.
So next Friday the 13th, I encourage you to...
That sounds cool.
And also, she's great in making the gods work for you.
Tomorrow's Friday.
She's great about saying the ways of honoring Venus.
I mean, it
And
is.
she does something about like, on Fridays, sprinkle cornmeal in a Venus shape on your doorstep in a way of invoking and honoring Venus. And she also says that copper is most connected to Venus because of the whole Crete thing, and most connected to Venus. And she has a wonderful exercise about welcoming your beloved by ridding all those things that you don't want in relationships through like a silver ball and then welcoming them through a copper ball up your spine. It was gorgeous, so read about it. It's quite lovely. Carolyn Casey, I do love her. I talk about her a lot. She wrote a book called Making the Gods Work for You. Okay,